Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes. This is episode 205 for all those that are counting. And today we're going to talk about BAM. And for all you entrepreneurs who don't know what BAM is, I actually brought on Megan Hubert to talk about all this great stuff. And she's a fellow entrepreneur and podcaster. And just a heads up, BAM stands for Business Acceleration Mentor. So
Yeah.
welcome, Megan, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I have a feeling we're going to have a pretty awesome conversation about all things business.
We could, or we could talk about fishing, which I really don't know anything about. But
Neither do I. We could talk about tennis. I know a lot about tennis, but fishing, no.
yeah, I'm. Nobody wants to see me play tennis. No, yeah, I just, and that's why we're kind of talking this way. Is for all you listeners out there, is every single one of you has a hobby. Well, at least I would hope. My hobby is writing books about my sarcastic adventures, and you know, but every single thing that you do in life accelerates you to the next level of your entrepreneurship. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree. I would agree. In fact, I recorded I did a couple of Instagram stories and a quick reel this morning. I do an early morning workout. In the summertime, it's not as early at 7 a.m. During the school year, we have a almost 12-year-old daughter, my husband and I, but during the school year, I work out at 5:30 a.m. and every Monday through Friday, but it is super duper incredibly challenging. It's at this gym called Burn Boot Camp. And
Mm.
so got in my car. I was like pouring sweat. I was literally still trying to catch my breath and did a video. And I was like, you know what? Having a challenging workout every single day makes me a better mom. It makes me a better wife. It makes me a better business person. And it just kind of shows us whether it's a hobby where we're learning something new or we're doing something that's challenging us in a
Yeah.
different way than just sitting here on Zoom working inside of our businesses. It really does show you what you're capable of.
Right.
And you learn something else about yourself that you knew was always there, but maybe you were just not letting it show itself or shine. So I love doing things like that just to get out of your comfort zone on a daily basis too. And hobbies, I would say that working out is probably one of my hobbies. So whatever the hobby it is, it has a potential to do that for you.
Yeah. For me, it's and I might be the exception, but I love mowing the lawn, and I use a push mower. I don't use a rider,
Mm,
and so I get my exercise in. I put my headphones on, listen to my 80s music, and I think, and I come up with some of the most brilliant ideas on how to help my clients while I'm doing this. And it's for me, I was never, I never liked going into the gym and having people look at me and
yeah.
yeah, because I'm doing something wrong, or they come up, hey, that's not how it's supposed to be. I'm like, leave me alone. I'm just doing it on my own. So I like to do things on my own, mow the grass, do things different. But I get the exercise, I get the momentum, I get the the kind of the peaceful moment there for an hour and a half, and I think sometimes we just need that
Yeah.
to be
Well,
better entrepreneurs.
that's like a moving meditation,
Hmm.
you know?
Except with obstacles, with trees and
Yeah, flying
bushes,
things out of the mower.
toys.
Well, it's interesting. No matter, I mean, I know we're not talking about like working out or moving our bodies on this episode, but that's how we
Good.
started it.
Yeah.
And body movement, whatever it is, it really does inspire more creative thought and
Hmm.
imaginative ideas. I have always gotten my best ideas when I am walking outside
Hmm.
or working out or playing tennis or anything out from behind the computer or sitting in the business. And I just think that's so important. It's interesting. We started the conversation out that way. I was even making a post this morning on Facebook, and I was like, if you feel like you're in this place in your business where you're like burned out or you're bored, get back to wondering more, get back to being more imaginative, get back to dreaming again. And that is hard to do if you're just sitting behind your computer on Zoom all the time. Like, get out and go explore, get out and move your body, get out and go do something different, because that can really spark new ideas and innovative ideas, creative ideas.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for that spark, I would have never written all these books or helped my clients write books. And, 9 years ago, I was bored with my business. I didn't know where I was going to go, what I was going to do. And coming back from an event in Phoenix, on the plane, I came up with this idea to write this book, and it became the easiest social media book ever. And, and I shopped it around. Nobody wanted it. They wanted these complex books that were really thick and cumbersome and technical. And I thought, no, I just want to create something that's easy for someone to understand. And in an hour and a half, they're done reading it and they go implement and make money.
Oh, nice.
So I created my own publishing company. And in 9 years, we've produced 36 books. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot, but see, out of that boredom came a whole new profit center that I'm proud of. And I love that creativity side of it now.
Yeah. Do you publish books for other people?
I do.
Oh, I need to write a book.
Everybody needs to write a book. And we've written books on podcasting, SEO, on life lessons, on copywriting, we've helped lawyers with their books. And some of the books that have made me the most money are my sarcastic Rob versus series books. And now they're being scripted for a potential TV show.
Oh, wow. Are all your books about business, or are they about other topics?
Most of them are all about business. But the Rob versus series takes it on a whole new sarcastic level where, I interact with the scammers, the lousy customer service, the morons, anything that kind of irritates me throughout the day. And I put it down on paper or I share it out on social. And there's 5 books. Actually, number 6 is coming out in a month, and I have enough material for book 7 and 8. And,
wow, that's kind of cool.
But after every story, there's a little blurb, a little lesson that kind of takes it back to, hey, this is what I would do in the business world, the real world. And it gives people education. It gives them a funny story. They laugh about it, and the sarcastic aspect of it has accelerated my business to a whole different level, because now people come to me and they say, wow, I could really relate to that story. Thanks for sharing it. I can imagine myself in that situation. And, so with humor, I'm educating clients without actually, being business, forcing business down their throat.
Being so technical. Well, it's so interesting. I think, we're now in 2022, halfway through the year. The last couple of years have been pretty volatile and pretty tumultuous. And all of us around the whole world have just experienced like so much craziness, and it doesn't seem like it's getting any better. And I think people are looking for, things have gotten so complex, right? Like life has just gotten so freaking complex for people, and not just in business. I mean, business is complex. Your family unit is complex. Navigating friendships with people who have different viewpoints. It's all gotten so freaking complex. And for those of us that are running businesses and working people with who are running businesses as well and supporting them, people are really looking for simplicity. They are looking, I don't like saying like people are looking to hit the easy button, because building a business is not about hitting the easy button. Like, you've kind of ventured into the lion's den when you become an entrepreneur to a degree, but it doesn't have to be confusing. It doesn't have to be complex. Once you've figured out how to make money and market and sell, you don't need to go learn 48,000 newer ways to do that. It can be really simple. And I think the people, I don't know who said this quote. I have a feeling you're going to know. Was it Einstein or someone who said, I think it was Einstein, who said like the mark of a genius is someone who can make something simple. So I think Einstein said that. I'm going to have to look that up. But people are really craving that right now. And if we can make things more simple for our customer or for our member, if we can, help them raise their confidence and their clarity so that they can actually go do the thing that they desire to do, people are happy.
Right.
I think people are just like burned out and exhausted from this like super technical, balls to the wall. It's all about the numbers. It's all about the revenue. Those things are important, but people want simple. People want simple, and they want to be able to integrate their lives and their businesses together in a way that really works for them.
Right. I'm, and not to bust on all you guys that look at these 2 comma clubs and think, hey, this is awesome. For me, I hate funnels. I want to keep everything as simple as possible. And for me to add more complexity to what I'm doing just doesn't make sense. I mean, the other day I shared out an interaction that occurred where, I ordered something online and I ended up getting like 10 different emails. Hey, we're doing this, we're passing it on to this guy, and this guy's having it, and here's your invoice. And I'm like, oh, I want to unsubscribe now. And then they go through a whole texting thing, and it was like a whole day of madness. And I'm just trying to, and I ordered like one thing, it was $40, and it launched this whole chain reaction of complicated nausea. And it was like, just, and I couldn't unsubscribe. I couldn't call the company. It was mind boggling. And
what did you buy?
I bought a pair of shoes for my grandson. And it was like, and I'm like, and he's 9 years old. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And so companies that are doing that are doing nothing but driving their customers away.
Yeah.
You think, oh, great, I got this sale and I'm going to funnel them to death. But then what? After they complain and then they give you a 1-star rating, and it's not worth the hassle.
Yeah. That's interesting because I've been having a lot of conversations with people, and I was just in a conversation with someone before I hopped on here. We were recording a podcast together, and she's a course creator, and I work with most of my clients have a business model that is group program based. And we were talking about this idea of acquiring a client is 7 times more expensive than keeping a client. But what so many business owners that have figured out how to make 6 figures, even 7 figures, they are talking about being like sucked into this vortex of, it's all about just acquiring more clients, making more sales so I can make more money to keep funneling, so that I can funneling money to pay for my team. And now, oh no, I sold all this stuff to people and now I have to deliver it. And then they're taking their foot off the gas pedal of marketing and sales. And it's like this vicious cycle. And the conversation that we're not having enough, in my opinion, and from my perspective, is in the business world, we're not having enough conversations about how customer service, how do I retain my clients? How do I renew my clients? How do I resell them on other things, but not by just blasting them like what your experience is, but, and I know you're talking about buying a product that's, a tangible product, and,
it works for services as well.
Yeah. But we need to have that conversation more because, at least in like the coaching and the online expert industry, it's not a new conversation about people buying things and getting burned, or like the marketing and sales was so great. They were promised the world, and then you get in the program and it's not what you thought it was going to be. That's not like that's new. That's been happening since the beginning of the service industry. But what's happened is people are braver and more courageous to talk about it publicly. And we have access to social media, and people are no longer afraid to share about that experience publicly. I mean, just like what you're doing, you're writing books about it. You're writing books about bad experiences that you've had. And I don't know if you're naming names or naming companies, but a lot of people are. A lot of people are talking about that on social media. And then what happens is the more people are having these experiences of feeling like they got burned or sold something that wasn't delivered on, the other thing that I'm seeing in the service industry is their timeline to make a buying decision is getting longer and longer and longer and longer, because they no longer want to make those bad decisions. And, for anybody listening to this, you can really stand out from the crowd. We talk about standing out from all the noise on social media, which I can't stand that conversation. I have such a love-hate relationship with social media. But you know how you can stand out is really exceptional customer service, like treating your people the way that they deserve to be treated, but also delivering a product or a service that they can make progress with, that they can get results from, that they're going to go tell other people about in a really positive way. And I think we've kind of gotten away from that in the last few years. And I think it's time to go back to keeping things really simple in the business and just upping the ante on customer service, because that in itself will help you stand out.
Right. Well, I think it goes beyond customer service as well. I think also the customer needs to give feedback. And I just had a client that I fired because they ghosted me.
Oh,
Every month we would provide this service. We would, provide social, we would provide AdWords, we would provide all this stuff. And I kind of knew going in that this was going to be a problem client. So I set them up on a 3-month trial. They could try us, we could try them. And after the second month, they were late with the payment. By about a week. And, I would send these reminders out. Hey, your payment is behind schedule. What's going on? You need to talk about it. You're experiencing problems. Nothing. Then on the 10th day, hey, and then they list all these questions that they have. I'm like, what is going on? Well, I answered all of them, and they finally paid. Third month come around, send a bill. Nothing. 15 days go by, nothing. So, I'm back to emailing them again. I'm thinking, this client's a pain in the ass. They're gone. And I did. I wrote up a letter. I fired them. And then after I fired them and removed access to all the stuff that we created for them, they're like, oh, we didn't know you were going to do that. Can you take us back? And I'm like, no. And, I think sometimes entrepreneurs forget that they're in charge. It's their terms and conditions. Although, yes, you have to be nice to clients, you also can fire them.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think that women tend to have a harder time with that than men do. Because, and I work predominantly with women, and they seem to be very afraid of making sure they are keeping their clients happy, but keeping their clients happy at all costs.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, the business owner will literally like jump in and hold their hand too much, like almost do the work for them. They don't want anybody to be mad at them. They don't want to be rejected. They don't want to be judged. They don't want to be criticized. They don't want to be talked about publicly. They think if they lose that client or get rid of that client, fire the client, they're going to lose money. They're not going to be able to find another client. And I think women do have a harder time with that. And also, I think women have a harder time sometimes, and I could be wrong because I'm not a dude, but sometimes I think women have a harder time articulating that to the client. They think they're either going to come across as just mean or bitchy or, but I will say a lot of women do not have the best communication skills, because women, which is very different from men, this is interesting. They use their emotions so much more than men. Like women get their emotions all involved with client work.
Although,
men don't do that as much.
It can be an asset though, because
it
now
can be.
They're more empathetic to the outcome, to the client, to the whatever they're selling. And I think sometimes that leads to more added sales. It could lead to, more referrals.
Yeah, it can for sure.
But let's go back a little bit. How did you get involved in all this? Because you just didn't wake up one day and say, hey, this is what I want to do the rest of my life.
Yeah. Interesting story. So, my college degree is in business. My undergrad degree is in business management. And I had no idea what I wanted to do when I graduated college. I graduated in 2004, and I don't think I had a single peer in college where any of us knew what we were going to do afterwards, which is interesting because I don't think most kids do. I think we need to change the education system. And so I didn't know what I wanted to do. My mom was an educator her entire career. She was a teacher and a principal. So I grew up in schools. My best friend's mom was also a teacher who was my first grade teacher. So I literally grew up in a school building. And my mom was pregnant with me when she was teaching. And so it was the summer after I graduated college. My mom was like, well, you don't know what you want to do, but you would be a really awesome teacher. Why don't you go get your master's degree in teaching? Because I didn't have a teaching license. And I had moved home after college. I'm from a very small town of 2,000 people in North Carolina. And I ended up getting a long-term substitute position at the high school I graduated from in the English department. I was in school to get my master's degree in teaching at the time. And then I got hired at the high school I graduated from the following year to be a teacher in the business education department. So I think I was 22 or 23 years old. So I taught in the business ed department and taught business classes to high school kids. And then my husband and I had a daughter in 2010, and I did not go back to the classroom, which was very uncharacteristic of me because I was one of those teachers that said yes to anything my principal asked me. I was a tennis coach. I was the athletic trainer for the football team. I was this big coordinator of this huge project that went on across the whole state of North Carolina. So needless to say, I was working about 80 hours a week as a teacher in my 20s. And so have a daughter, come home, did not enjoy it. I'm not afraid to say that. I had a really hard time in those first few years. My husband suggested I go get a coaching certification for my own personal development because he was already in that world. And so I was like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. And I did it without the intention of ever starting a business. And this was in 2011, and got to the end and I was like, holy cow, this is so similar to the way I operated my classroom with high school kids. I can do this. So that is what started my entrepreneurial journey. In the beginning of 2012, I actually quit my business or left my business in 2013/14. And I worked for one of my mentors who had a multi-million-dollar coaching company and developed all of her coaching programs, helped launch them. I ran them, built my own team inside of that business. And basically it was like me having a business within a business. But I got to sit beside the CEO of that company for 4 years, literally sit beside that person. And when you get to see like the internals of a company like that, and you sit beside the CEO, you learn a lot really, really fast. So that was one of the like greatest experiences I ever had, which not a whole lot of people who now have their own business, they had that experience. And I left that company at the end of 2016 because I just thought, I'm really smart. I'm pretty entrepreneurial. Why am I doing this for somebody else and helping somebody else live out their vision? Why am I not living out my own? Why am I not doing what my husband and I want to do together? And so I left at the end of 2016 and basically restarted my own company in January of 2017. So that's the story of how I got into all of it.
Oh, it's so much better than my story, because my story started out with me being a carpet cleaning company. I mean, I owned a carpet cleaning company in 1995, and 1998, I was about half dead broke and living on credit cards, and saw a marketing ad and went out to Phoenix to an event, learned marketing from some of these big names, and I came back and I started teaching marketing to other carpet cleaners, and in 2001 started this coaching business. But I still had the cleaning business for up until 2014, and I sold that, and now I'm doing this full time, and yeah, it's I love what I do.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think if I hadn't done all those things in the past, hadn't had that business that suffered or learned marketing, I wouldn't be who I am now. Same
Right.
with you. Had you not done all those things, you wouldn't be the hero you are now.
Yeah. Well, what's probably super interesting about your experience, I mean, I really grew up as an entrepreneur in the coaching industry, which is very different than your pathway. You didn't grow up in the coaching industry, and the coaching industry is very fascinating because there's
that would be one word for it.
There's not many. I've met a few, but there are not many people in the coaching space that really know how to run a real business. This is a conversation I've been having a lot lately where, people are working with coaches to grow their business, but the only thing they're being taught how to do is how to make money.
Yeah.
But when you had your carpet cleaning business, there's so much more to running a business that lasted as long as it did. I mean, you had that business for a long time.
For
It was
almost
not
20
just
years.
about making money.
Right. And most of my clients were women. So I had to deal, with them. And some days, because I'm the one going in to clean up the mess, I'm the guy that they dump all their problems on.
Yep.
So, I had to turn my marketing around so that dynamically it would attract them, to want to call me first.
Yeah.
And then when I got out there, it's always that know, like, and trust, but I had to also make them feel safe.
Oh yeah.
Because here's a man coming into their home that's not their husband,
Yeah.
that has all this equipment.
Yeah.
I had to, make sure that they felt comfortable, that, that they were going to refer me to their friends who act the same way. And so, you grow a business that way. But, COVID taught me, again, that people want to feel safe. They don't necessarily want to like you. They don't necessarily need to trust you. But they do need to feel safe.
Yeah. So from your experience, like, how were you able to do that? Like, how do you help your clients feel safe? Because I think that's a conversation that really needs to be had. And it's interesting. I love how you preface that with, they don't have to like you or they don't have to trust you, but they need to feel safe, because I'm not hearing this conversation out there much.
Right. One of the things that I teach all my clients, when they write their blogs, when they do their podcasts, when they, even post to social media, do it in their own language. Do it in how they normally talk to somebody. Because if I'm talking to you in this way, and then I go outside of my comfort zone or outside of business, or I'm on stage somewhere, and someone hears me in a different tone, they're not going to believe me. If what I'm saying and how I phrase things in my books is different than how I phrase things in real life, they're not going to believe me. So I always say, look, we're going to write your books in conversational tone. So when people read that, it feels like they're having a conversation directly with you. So when they meet you for the first time, they've already felt safe.
Yeah. I love that. When you had your carpet cleaning company, was it just you, or did you have a team of people?
I had a team of people, and but towards the end, it was just me, because what I've discovered, I had a carpet cleaning business, then I developed a flooring store and a janitorial service, and one by one, I sold them all off.
Yeah.
And towards the end, it was just about 6 months before I sold my cleaning business to another gentleman. It was just me, because I was done. I was so burned out with cleaning, and I knew that I had this evolution going on with my consulting business that took precedence. I mean, I had just written my first book in 2013, and it was really taking off, and people needed my help there, and that's where I wanted to put my energy.
Yeah.
And so my employees knew, and they went on to better things. But the experiences that they learned cleaning, I think some of them still appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I still have clients call me and they'll say, Rob, can you come clean my carpet? I'm like, I haven't done that in a long time.
Wow.
You don't want me doing it now.
No. So something that you mentioned about selling your businesses, this is a different kind of conversation I've been having with my clients and publicly, because I typically work with online service-based entrepreneurs. And some of my clients have had businesses in other categories and other industries, but some of them, their first business, just like my first business, was in the coaching industry. And in the coaching industry, and I'm sure it's not just the coaching industry, I think it's like all across the board, but it's the only one I've worked in. And it's this idea that, most of us left a job or left a career. And I think most entrepreneurs do leave a job first, where we all acquired a particular skill and we have this technical ability to do something. So then we go and we start our own business so that we can be our own boss. and we are stuck doing the technical thing all the time. And you were talking about the fact that you've sold multiple businesses. And regardless of whether someone truly wants to sell their business or they do sell their business, I believe that's an incredible approach, like a incredible way of thinking at the onset of starting a business, or if you're not thinking that and you've been in business 10 years, because the way you approach developing and growing and building your company and the infrastructure, the systems, the processes, the people, it's very different when you're coming from the place of one day I'm going to sell this versus I'm selling the service and then I'm also the one delivering the service, and my company can't function unless I'm the one delivering the service. And in the coaching space, this is where we're seeing so many people get burned out, exhausted, literally hating their business. I can't tell you how many people have told me in the last maybe 6 months, making high 6 and 7 figures, I picked up the phone and called my old corporate boss back because I'm considering going back to corporate. But I really believe, and I'd be interested to hear your perspective on this, would it change how people are approaching the growth and development of their business if they looked at it from the perspective of I'm building it so that one day I can sell it?
Well, in was it 1998, 1999, as I was learning all this marketing material, I kind of got into a depression mode. And I reached out to my former boss, who I had learned carpet cleaning from, if he would take me back. And it was in that moment of weakness that 2 seconds after I sent that email, and I was hoping that he wouldn't reply, I regretted sending that email. And he did reply. And he said, okay, let's meet next week. And this is what I agree to pay you. This is all this. And I looked at him going, screw that. I can't go back. There's no way I could ever go back. And just that moment, that weakness of time, I sometimes contemplate that moment, and it forces me to continue to go further in my career, what I'm doing now and helping clients, because I know every single entrepreneur has experienced that.
Oh yeah.
And some of them have given up. Some of them have gone back, and they're miserable for it. And they always think, what if? And I don't ever want to be a what if, or and the flip side, what if I didn't succeed doing what I want to do? Not what if I didn't do it. Yeah. So it's that is what continues to drive me. And I mean, this is going back 20 some years, and it's still driving me to be better, to help more clients, because I knew that I didn't like working there. I didn't like what the boss stood for. And although that guy had this great reputation in the community as a giver and this and that and everything else, he treated his employees like shit. And I don't ever want to go back to that scenario.
Yeah. I mean, I thought about this in my early days. I mean, I stopped teaching in the classroom in 2010, but there were moments for 3 years after that where I was like, I could just pick up the phone, call Mr. Blyce. He was my principal when I left, and we had such a good relationship. He actually did try to hire me back a couple of times, but I was like, it would have been so easy to pick up the phone. He would have hired me on the spot, but I'd go right back to I had a master's degree when I was a teacher, and still only made, I think the most I ever made was about $34,000 a year pre-tax. Take home was $2,000. I took home $2,000 a month as a teacher with a master's degree in the state of North Carolina. But I had those thoughts too. I could have easily called him back. He's not there now, but I could do it today. I think he works at the county office now, but it's not, this conversation and like these thoughts, people just are not really talking about it publicly. Right. So when you do have that moment of weakness, you do believe in your own mind, something's wrong with me. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. And your mind just takes you in so many different places. And I've always been someone who seeks out. I love stories about entrepreneurs and athletes. I study athletes a lot, but I love their story of like the come up. in the beginning because they were either homeless or living out of their car or living in somebody's garage, or they were bankrupt or lost all their money. And they've gone through so many moments in that journey where it sucked and they were in a valley. You're not always going to be at the top of the mountain. But I wish more people would talk about the reality of what it looks like, because it makes the rest of us not feel like, or, using your word, it actually makes the rest of us feel safer, that there isn't something innately wrong with me, or I'm not just cut out for this, or this just isn't my path. And those types of stories are really comforting. And sometimes all we need to hear is, oh, wow, that person who I admire, they went through the same thing I went through, and I can keep going too. And I just think in like an entrepreneurial community, the more we're actually sharing the reality of what we are experiencing, then I do think, to your point, those types of stories do make other people feel safe with us, because we're not going to judge them or criticize them when they're having those moments of weakness.
And safe doesn't mean that you're going to get the warm and fuzzies with me.
Correct.
I've had customers say, Rob, I don't like sarcasm. I think you're an asshole, but I feel safe with you and what your team's doing for my company to propel it into the future. And, at first I was like, I don't know how to take that. Should I take that as a compliment? You call me an asshole. But, by the time I'm done with these companies, they're making more money. They're loving me. I'm their best friend. I got their back, So sometimes starting off as being that asshole is better than not getting them as a client to begin with.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think your heart has to be in the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about where your heart is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that.
So, I know there's a lot of stuff on your website that we can go over, a lot of stuff, a lot of great words. I mean, I use these words too, like trust and authority and action and experience. But they don't mean much to entrepreneurs right now. COVID kind of destroyed their dreams.
Yeah.
So what do you say to them?
I mean, what I say to that is, all of us have, if we go back to the reason why we started our business in the first place, or why we left a job or left corporate, I left the classroom. Why did we leave working for someone else to begin with? And in that moment, we were igniting our entrepreneurial spirit. And, I think what happens I was alluding to this a little bit earlier. I think what happens to so many of us is we're very good at our technical skill. And then we just focus on being the technician with everything. And you start hating your work, and you start hating what the external environment or circumstances or situation might be doing to you. And I think it's a matter of reinviting and reigniting the entrepreneur in you, because all of us have an entrepreneur in us, and thinking differently, and also looking at like, what can we actually control? Like, I think there's three main things that we can control. We can control our beliefs, we can control our attitude, and we can control our effort. And I don't think anything in our external world, whether it's COVID or monkeypox, whatever the hell that is, or the next election, or, all the stuff that's going on about January 6th still, I mean, we could go on. I think at this point, from my perspective, it's becoming very laughable. I mean, it's very laughable at this point. And if we pay too much attention to all of that, what's going on outside of us and our external environment or situations or people or whatever, it's very easy to get sucked into that. It's so easy to get sucked into that. And it's constantly coming back to yourself. What can I control? And always control those no matter what's going on. Belief, attitude, what was my last one? Effort. It's those three. It's going back to those three things. You've got an entrepreneur in you. Go back to who that is.
Yeah. So how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, the easiest, best way is my website. It's meganjohnsonhuber.com. And that's where my podcast is over there. You can access that. You can find out how I work with people, download some free resources, but that's the best place.
And see, this was great. And I hope the audience found value in all this. And please go to our website and learn more about her. and she's got a great podcast, and listen to that one as well. And so I hope you guys all have a great day. Adios, and we'll see you on the next episode.